Good morning to our Discovery Kids. This is Palm Sunday, which means it's exactly 1 week away from our big Easter celebration. The story that I'm going to share for you today is actually the story of when Jesus entered into Jerusalem. So make sure you're really still and you're listening really well. As Jesus and his disciples approached Jerusalem, they came to the towns of Bethphage and Bethany on the Mount of Olives. Jesus sent two of them ahead. Go into that village over there, he told them. As soon as you enter it, you will see a young donkey tied there that no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks, "What are you doing?" just say the Lord needs it and will return it soon. The two disciples left and found the colt standing in the street, tied outside the front door. As they were untying it, some bystanders demanded, "What are you doing untying that colt?" They said what Jesus had told them to say, and they were permitted to take it. Then they brought the colt to Jesus and threw their garments over it, and he sat on it. Many in the crowd spread their garments on the road ahead of him, and others spread leafy branches they had cut in the fields. Jesus was in the center of the procession, and the people all around him were shouting, "Praise God! Blessings on those who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessings on the coming kingdom of our ancestor David. Praise God in the highest heaven." So the people were really excited to see Jesus coming into their town. Some things that the story doesn't tell you, though, is that Jesus was kind of coming in the back way to Jerusalem. Most of the time when people came into the city, they used the front gate, but Jesus took a different gate. The people are all calling Jesus a king, but Jesus is a very different kind of king than what everyone expected. When your parents come home, you probably hear them pull up and you run outside and you run out there and greet them and give your parents a big hug, and I'm so glad that you're here. Well, this is kind of what is happening in the story. As Jesus was entering into Jerusalem, the people were so excited. They left their homes and they ran to meet him, and they took what they had and they laid it at his feet. Some of them had palm branches, and they took them and they waved them or they set them on the ground. Most of the time when kings would enter and people would do things like this, they would put out their best garments. They're shiny and they're new and they're in really good shape. But when Jesus came into the city of Jerusalem, the people who met them were the people who kind of had been forgotten. And when kings entered into towns, they found the tallest horses and the most impressive animals, and they rode on them. When you think about a donkey, what do you think about? Think about a small animal that makes a really awkward sound, but this is kind of what Jesus has been saying from the very beginning. God sent Jesus to us in a manger, a feeding trough. It's not very special to anyone else, but God is saying, Jesus, you are going to be a humble kind of king, and you want your people to be humble. And when Jesus comes into Jerusalem as the king, he comes as a humble king, a king that is willing to give everything he has for the people that he loves. When you think about kings entering into cities, you can think about Aladdin on the huge elephant that he rode into town on with the band and the music playing and all of the people jumping. And it was such a big deal. And it was a big deal when Jesus entered too, but it was really a big deal for the people who didn't have a lot, who had been forgotten, just the way Jesus had lived his whole life up to that point. So if we are followers of Jesus, then our church should look different than the rest of the world. We should look different than the rest of the world. We're not worried about what we have and what we take in, but we're worried about what we give to the people who are lost and broken and who have dirty garments maybe instead of the cleanest garments, because that's the way that Jesus taught us to live. That's the kind of king that he was and the kind of people that he wants us to be. I hope you guys are all doing well. I miss seeing you. Hopefully I'll see some of you as our Discovery Kids Parade passes by some houses this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Know that I'm praying for you guys and love you.